Welcome to Computer Applications in Accounting. Today we are going to discuss about some of the activities that we couldn't discuss during our lecture. So in the lecture, uh, the decision logics, so in the uh, physical lecture what we had the last time, we couldn't discuss three activities. So that is activity 8, activity 11 and activity 12. So therefore, I thought of discussing those activities in the today's video recording. When come to the importance of these activities, so actually, I'm going to give you an individual assignment. So, so during the lecture, we had planned several individual assignment, the class activities, but because of the prevailing situation, so we couldn't have any of these class activities. So I have planned a different mode of assessment. So that is going to be a kind of individual assignment. So I'll be giving you with the relevant information. So in future, so when it comes to performing these assignments, so those assignment would be based on your knowledge on decision logics. So therefore, the today's discussion would be pretty much important for you to earn a good mark in your individual assignment. Right. So when come to the lecture, we have discussed all the theoretical aspects relating to this decision logics, especially the if functions, the sum ifs, average ifs, all those aspects we had extensively discussed in the lecture. So what we are going to do today, we are going to work out a comprehensive example. So there I have uploaded the data file, that is sales of ABC, and you have to download that material. And also I have taken the questions in the activities to the Excel file as well. So if you refer to the PowerPoint presentation, so what you have to do, you have to copy the activity 8. So there are several questions, and activity 11 and also activity 12. So make sure to bring all these questions to a Excel sheet. Then it would be easy for you to work the thing. So otherwise you would have to go to the PowerPoint presentation time to time and you have to work the things in the Excel sheet. So therefore it is quite difficult. So better you copy that information from the very beginning. So I have prepared myself. So I have copied all those information to the Excel sheet. So then we may move into the data set and let's work out the activity. එතකොට අපි අද දවසේ කතා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ decisions logics වලට අදාළව අපිට activity කිහිපයක් lecture එකේදී කතා කරන්න බැරි වුණා. ඒකට lecture එකේදී අපි decision logics වලට අදාළ සියලුම theoretical aspects ටික කතා කළා. නමුත් එතන අපිට activities තුනක් කතා කරන්න බැරි වුණා. activity 8, activity 11 සහ activity 12. ඒතර අද දවසේ සාකච්ඡාව තුළින් මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මේ activities ටික සාකච්ඡා කරන්න. ඊට පස්සේ ඔයාලට පුළුවන් මේ activities ටික තනියම කරලා බලන්න. එතකොට මේ අද සාකච්ඡා කරන්න යන activities වල වැදගත්කම සම්බන්ධයෙන් කතා කරොත් මේක ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන් වැදගත් වෙනවා ඔයාලගේ individual assignment එකට. අපි ඇත්තටම plan කරලා තිබුණේ class activities කිහිපයක් කරන්න. නමුත් මේ පවතින තත්ත්වයක් එක්ක අපිට පේනවා ඒ class activities කරගැනීමේ නොහැකියාවක් තියෙනවා. නිසා මම individual assignment එකක් plan කරලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට ඒකේ එක් ප්‍රධාන කොටසක් වෙනවා Excel applications, if functions applications බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම NPV calculations උත් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. එතකොට අද සාකච්ඡාව අපි ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන් කරන්නේ if functions වල applications. ඊපස්සේ ඉදිරියේදී එන වීඩියෝ එකකින් අපි සාකච්ඡා කරමු NPV සම්බන්ධ case studies කිහිපයක්. එතකොට ඔයාලගේ individual assignment එක කිරීමේදී ඒක පහසුවක් වෙනවා. Right. So then we may move to the data set and let's work out the questions. So you can see that when it comes to the data set, we have more than 1000 records. In fact, So it is 1900 records we have. So it's a large scale database. So when you are going to work in large scale databases, so the very first thing what you need to do is you need to apply some range names. So then it would be easy for you to do these activities. So when you are working out the questions in the activities, it would be easy for you. So we may now apply the range name. So that must be the starting point. So first you may select the data set. So all the records, you have to select that. So we have around 1900 odd records. So then usually you are in the home tab, then you know how to apply the range name. So actually in the first two lectures we have discussed about the range names. So when you come across a large scale database, what is the easiest way to apply the range name? So that is to go to the formulas and then you can select the option create from selection. So that would be the easiest way to apply the range names. So we may get that. Then it asks us the create names from values in top row. So in fact, in this database, we want to give the names, so which is they are in the top row. So we may just click OK. So once you click that, you can easily go to the name manager and then see what are the names, the range names what you had applied so far. So you can see the date is there, the dollars, name, product, transaction number and units. So therefore all the labels that was there in the first row had been taken. So it is how we do the things. එතකොට අපි මේ වගේ large scale database එකක් base කරලා question එකක් work out කරනකොට අපේ තියෙන පළවෙනිම requirement එක තමයි මේ large scale database එකේ තියෙන columns වලට අපි නම් දෙන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට මේකේ අනුව නම් හතන horizontal විදිහට arrange කරපු data set එකක් තියෙන්නේ. sorry vertical විදිහට arrange කරපු data set එකක් තියෙන්නේ. එහෙමනම් අපිට මේ column names ටික දී ගන්න අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා නම් වශයෙන්. එතකොට අපිට පහසුයි මේ තියෙන questions work out කරනකොට. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි දන්නවා අපිට time to time ඇවිල්ලා මේ range of cells අපිට select කරන්න වෙනවා. ඒක අපිට අපහසුයි. ඒ නිසා අපි මේක මුලින්ම දී ගන්නවා. මුලින්ම දෙනවා range names ටික. එතකොට ඒක අපි කරන්න පහසුම විදිය තමයි මුලින් කරපු විදියට data set එක අපි select කරලා අපිට පුළුවන් වෙනවා අපිට පේනවා records 1900ක් වගේ තියෙනවා. එතකොට මේ records ටික select කරලා formula tab එකට ගිහිල්ලා එතනින් අපි create from selection කියන එක click කරාම අපිට පේනවා නම් ටික දෙන්න පුළුවන්. So that's how we apply the names. Right. So that is the prerequisite. We are done with that. Then let's move on to the activity 8. In the first question it asks what was the total dollar amount of merchandise sold by each salesperson. So you can see that here we have several person involved in sales. So like Bestie, Ashley, likewise we have several person involved in the sale of goods. So here the question is about what was the total dollar amount of goods sold by each salesperson. So therefore when it comes to the output, you need to have the names of the salesperson and also you need to know what is their respective sales. So the sales amount, you need to know the sales amount. So this is what the output. Then the challenge here is to identify how many salespersons are involved. You can see that it's a large scale databases. Then how do you filter how many unique records are there or how many salespersons are actually involved in that. So you can see that. So here several transactions are given and in this transaction the respective salesperson is given. You can see that these names are repeated, isn't it? So they have involved in repeat sales. So you can say, for an example, if you take Bestie, you can see Bestie in several places, right? So if you take Jen, you can see Jen in several places. So likewise, so you can see that these names are repeated. So in fact, that is when and where they involved in a sale. So that particular sale was recorded in front of that particular person name. So therefore, the very first thing is to identify actually how many salespersons are involved in this particular business. Then how we are to do that? So in order to do that, so there is one method. What you can do is you can take all the names that is given and then you can eliminate the duplicates value. Then you will be getting the unique records or the salesperson who has actually involved in this, who has involved in the sales. So accordingly, what am I going to do is I'm going to copy the column where the salesperson exists. So let me copy that and then I can paste it somewhere over here. So just paste that. Thereafter, you have all the 1900 records is still there. So out of that, your purpose is to identify the salesperson. So you know these names are repeated, so therefore you need to know exactly how many persons are involved in this. So in order to eliminate the duplicate records, you can go to the data tab. In the data tab, you can see that several options are there. In that, somewhere over here, you can see that the data tools. In the data tab, the data tools, you have an option called remove duplicates. So if you select the relevant range, the relevant column, and if you click on remove duplicates, you can see that the duplicates records are eliminated. තොර මෙතන අපිට පේනවා ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන්ම question එකේ අහලා තියෙනවා එක් sales person කරපු sales amount එක හොයන්න කියලා. නමුත් මේ records ටික අපිට බැලුවොත් අපිට පේනවා records 1900ක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට මේ එක් transaction එක ඉදිරියෙන් එක පුද්ගලයාගේ sales person ගේ නම ලියවිලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට අපි දන්නේ නැහැ මෙතන ඇත්තටම sales person ලා කී දෙනෙක්ද ඉන්නේ කියලා. එතකොට ඒක හොයාගෙන ඉන්න ඕන මුලින්ම එක එක්කෙනාගේ sales amount හොයන්න කලින්. එතකොට ඒ වගේ දෙයක් අපි කරගන්නේ කොහොමද? එතකොට අපිට පුළුවන් මේ තියෙන column එක ඒ sales person ලා ඉන්න column එක copy කරලා වෙනම තැනකට paste කරගන්න. ඊට පස්සේ අපිට පුළුවන් data tab එකට ගිහිල්ලා අපිට පුළුවන් එතනදී data tools කියලා option එකක් තියෙනවා. section එකක්. ඒ section එකේ තියෙනවා remove duplicates කියලා option එකක්. So it's right here. So if you click on that, you can see that all the duplicates records are eliminated and the original records, original values would remain, right? So let me click that and this particular kind of dialog box comes. So it says that the column is column I. Yes, that is it. And let's say, oh, okay. See, only 11 unique values are there. Only 11 unique values are there. See, so this would be the names of the salesperson in this particular business. So they have occupied 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 salesperson. So in fact, they have occupied 9 salesperson. So that's what we can see. So it is Bestie, Halligan, Ashley. Likewise, we have 9 salesperson involved in this particular business organization. So earlier we did not know. So when we were referring to the large scale databases, we did not know how many salespersons were there, in fact. But by using this particular option, we could figure out, in fact, how many salespersons are there. So there are like 9 salespersons involved in this business. Right, now we have made our life easy. Now what we have to do, you want to compute the total dollar amount of goods sold by each salesperson. Then what would be the formula that will help you to compute the sales amount of each of these person? So if you are to compute a particular total, so you want to use the sum function. But here there's a particular condition that you want to compute the sales of each of the salesperson. So therefore the condition is the name of each salesperson. Accordingly, for a situation like this, the most suitable function is going to be the sum if. It's a sum if you want to compute total, but that is for a particular condition. So there is a condition if involves if there is a total sum. So therefore the combination of that sum if. So let me take that sum if, then you can expand that. So having expanded that, you have to give the relevant range. So that is in fact the range of cells that you want to evaluate. So you want to evaluate the salesperson. So therefore here it simply asks where the condition exists. Your condition is the salesperson, so that exists in the name column. So you may take that. Then what is the criterion? So it's going to be the names of the salesperson. So here you have 9 salespersons, so therefore you have to take it for each of the person. So you have to keep it like a relative cell. So therefore let me make the cell reference best. Then it asks the sum range. So what is the sum range? We have already given the range name. So therefore you can type dollars. So then if you click OK, yes, that is the sales made by Bestie. So you can simply drag them down. So once you click on that, it will come down. Then you can see this would be the sales made by each of the salesperson. Bestie, $28,803. The Ashley, 25,947. Then Jen, 29,050. Likewise, you can come up with the individual sales. So if I am to compute the total sales, so actually it is not requested, but just to compute, let me compute that. So it's going to be 240,837.04. So that is an additional computation that I did, but you do not have to do that. So because the question requests to compute the dollar amount of merchandise or goods sold by each salesperson. So that is how we do that. So it is pretty easy. එතකොට මෙතනදී අපි කතා කළේ කොහොමද එක් සේල්ස් පර්සන්ගේ sales amount compute කරන්න කියලා. එතකොට අපි දන්නවා අපිට අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම total එකක් compute කරන්න වෙනවා sales amount ගන්න ඕනේ. මොකද එක් person එක sales person අපි දන්නවා දැන් කීපයක sales වලට contribute කරලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට අපිට ඕනේ total එකක්. එහෙමනම් sum එකක් අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. sum function එක ඕනේ. ඊට පස්සේ ගත්තොත් මෙතන condition එකක් තියෙනවා. අපිට ගණනය කරලා කියලා තියෙන මුළු sales නෙමෙයි. එක් sales person කරපු sale එක. එහෙමනම් දැන් අපිට if function එකකුත් use කරන්න වෙනවා. එහෙනම් ඒකේ combination එකක් තමයි ඇත්තටම මේ වගේ අවස්ථාවකට suitable වෙන්නේ. එහෙනම් අපි ඒකට කියනවා sum if function කියලා. අපි sum if function එක අරගමු. අරගෙන range එක දෙනවා. ඒතර range එක කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? මේ criteria එක ඔයාලට හොයාගන්න පුළුවන් කොතනද data set එකේ දීලා තියෙන data set එකේ මේ criteria එක තියෙන්නේ කොහෙද? ඒක තියෙන්නේ අපිට පේනවා name කියන column එකේ. අපි range names දුන්න නිසා අපිට බොහොම පහසුවෙන් ඒක refer කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට පස්සේ criterion එක. මොකක්ද criteria? ඒක තමයි names of each person. ඒක අපි relative cell එකක් විසින් දෙන්න ඕන නිසා එතන අපි best කියන cell එක refer කරලා දෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ sum range එක. Where we can get the sum. It is in the dollars column. So you can type the name. So then it comes. You can see it is the dollars. So it was taken. Say OK. So then you can simply drag them down. So the individual sales තෝරන්න අපිට identify කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතන මෙතන මම additional computation එකක් විදිහට මුළු sales ටිකත් ගණනය කරොත් එතකොට මට පේනවා මෙතන මුළු sales 240,837.0471 dollars කියලා අපිට එනවා. Right. ඒ විදිහට අපි දෙවෙනි question එකටත් ගිහින් බලමු. How many units were returned by the customers for the same period? එතකොට question එකේ අහනවා customers ලා විසින් මේ සලකා බලන කාල පරිච්ඡේදයේ කොච්චරක් භාණ්ඩ return කරාද? how many units were returned by the customers for the same period. So for the period what we consider, how many returns are there. Then how do you identify the returns? So that is pretty simple thing. So all what you have to do is you have to go to the units column. In the units column, you can witness if there is a kind of return, it comes with a minus figure. For example, if you go to the 15 transaction, it's a kind of what you call it's a kind of return. And similarly, if you go down, you may witness, yes, even the transaction 25, it's also a return. So the characteristic of the return is, you can see that it's as a minus figure. It's as a minus figure. So therefore, you may recognize the returns with a minus figure. Then here, what you need to do is, you want to identify the total return units. So therefore, your requirement is to identify the return units. Return units. Then how you can figure out the return units? So the only characteristic what we saw, that if it is a return, it comes with a minus figure, right? So therefore, it's a good indication for us to identify the return units, right? Then again, you'd have to use the sum if. As I explained earlier, there is a condition and you need to take the total. So what is the range? So the range, this time it's going to be the units, right? You've been asked to compute the units return. So therefore you have to type it returns. Then the criterion, this is the most important thing. You know, if it is a kind of return unit, there must be a minus figure. So therefore, how do you formulate a criterion over here? So if it is a minus figure, we know that it is something below 0. So therefore, if you can give the criterion as below 0, so that is going to work. So let's say it is less than 0. Type less than 0. Then some range, you need not to give that because the answer has already taken. Still there are some range here also, the units. In units, because you've been requested to take the units return, so you may take that. Say OK. So during the period, 922 units were returned by the customers. So that is the answer. Right. Then here also, in fact, when we are giving this formula, what we did is we have hard coded this criterion. So the one can feel that on the very first class we discussed that normally we are not going to use the hard coding when we are developing the models. So therefore one can feel that, so why do we type this criterion over here? So instead of that, can't we use a kind of reference for that and get the answer? එතකොට මෙතනදී අපි දැක්ක මේ ෆෝමියුලා එක අපි ලියනකොට මේ ක්‍රයිටීරියන් එක අපි හાર્ඩ් කෝඩ් කරා. එතකොට එහෙනම් අපි ක්‍රයිටීරියන් එක හાર્ඩ් කෝඩ් කරන්නේ නැතුව අපිට බැරිද මේකත් රෙෆරන්ස් එකක් විදියට ගන්න. එතකොට අපි ඒක try කරලා බලමු, right? එතකොට අපේ ක්‍රයිටීරියන් එක වෙන්නේ මොකක්ද? units 0 වලට වඩා අඩු. නිසා මම මේක unit 0 කියලා ගන්නවා. right. මම එතකොට work out කරොත් ආපහු මේ return units. So you can get the sum if function. So having taken the sum if function, so you can refer to the range. Range is where the criterion exists. එතකොට ඒක අපි දන්නවා units වල තමයි අපි බලන්නේ. එතකොට criteria එක තමයි එතනදී less than 0 වෙන්න ඕනේ. less than 0 වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඊට පස්සේ sum range එක units මේ පොඩ්ඩක් බලාගෙන ඉන්න. එතකොට මෙතන පේනවා අපිට මේ විදිහට ක්‍රයිටීරියන් එක දුන්නාම එන ආන්සර් එක මොකක්ද බලන්න. ආන්සර් එක එනවා බිඳුවක් කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ criterion එක ඒ විදිහට accept කරන්නේ නැහැ. එහෙනම් මේක වඩාත් වැදගත් වෙන learning එකක්. හොඳට අවධානය යොමු කරන්න. එහෙමනම් මේ criterion එක දීමේදී අපි යම්කිසි වෙනස්කමක් කරන්න ඕනේ. මොකද criterion එක read කරේ නැහැ. එහෙනම් මම ආපහු formula එක ගන්නවා. right. එතකොට මේ වගේ වෙලාවක criterion එකක් අපි refer කරන්න ගියාපුවාම cell එකකදී මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ මේ criterion එක ලියන සුවිශේෂී විදිහක් තියෙනවා. මොකක්ද ඒක තමයි මුලින්ම අපි ගන්න ඕනේ double quotes open කරනවා. ඊට පස්සේ අපි less than mark එක දෙනවා. less than mark එක දෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ අපි මොකක්ද කරන්නේ මේ double quotes වහනවා. double quotes වහනවා. මේක technical application එකක්. double quotes වහනවා. ඊට පස්සේ space එකක් තියන්න ඕනේ. we need to keep a space. Thereafter we have to use the ampersand, or we call it and sign. So you can see the and sign, you have to press shift, and in my case it is there in the number 7, so I might click that, so I might get the ampersand. So having get the ampersand, then you may keep some space, and now you can make the reference. Now you can make this reference. With that, see what has happened. You have get the required answer. You have get the required answer. So therefore, it is an important thing that you learn in the today's discussion, right? So when you are going to do the things in using references, so this is the way that you may enter the criterion. So we have several questions more, then we may see how it works, right? Okay. Let me move to the third question. What was the total dollar value sold in or after 2005? The question එකෙන් අහනවා total sales මොනවද? total volume of sales. ඒ කියන්නේ units කොච්චරක් විකුණලා තියෙනවද 2005 සහ එතනින් එහා පැත්තේ. ඒතකොට මේ data records ගත්තොත් අපිට වෙනවා 2004 ඉඳලා records තියෙනවා 2006 තියෙනවා. ඒතකොට ඒ කියන්නේ අවුරුදු කිහිපයක් පුරාවට ගියපු sales තමයි දීලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒතකොට මේ වගේ වෙලාවක කොහොමද අපි compute කරන්නේ? ඒතකොට අපිට අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා this time total units නේ. total units තමයි අපිට අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ. මොකද volume එක තමයි question එකේ අහන්නේ. 2005 සහ ඊට පස්සේ කරපු sales. ඒතර මෙතනත් අපිට කැමති විදිහකට කරන්න පුළුවන් criterion එක එක්ක type කරන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපිට references දෙන්න ඕන නම් references දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතර පුතාලට කැමති විදිහකට මේක කරන්න පුළුවන්. කිසිම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. ලකුණු දීමේදී දෙකම applicable විදිහට සලකනවා. right? So we may take again the sum if you have to use that. So taking the sum if you have to give the range. So this time the range must be the total, range must be the units, isn't it? You need to have the volume, so therefore it must be units. So what is the criterion? That is the most important thing. The total dollar volume sold in or after 2005. So therefore it must be greater than or equal 1st of January 2005. So that is how you take it. So your criterion is going to be more than or equal 1st of January 2005. So let me first hard code, right? So then you might have to open the double quotes here and close the double quotes here. Even if you do not do that, so this will be identified. So seems something is wrong. So let me just remove that. Then the sum range, that's going to be units. So it does not produce the answer. So it seems that something is wrong. So let us try the other way around. So that is the reference method. So it is, in order to do that, you need to have the input. So that is 1st of January 2005. So that is the case, right? Okay. So in that, we may try sum if. In sum if, what do you want? You want to have the units. Then the criteria must be open double quotes, greater than or equal, close the double quotes. Thereafter, what you have to do? You have to keep some space, then apply the and sign, or we call it ampersand, then keep some space, then make the reference. So then, even still it does not take that, but we may type units, and let's keep it. So in fact, that is something wrong with this. So let's keep it for a while, but that is how we normally do that. So let's investigate why that particular thing has not come later. So let's proceed with the rest of the questions, right? So let me come back to this question later and let me investigate that, right? Okay. Then the next question, it asks, how many units of lip gloss were sold during the whole period? During the whole period. So you need to identify what is the lip gloss sale. So better copy the criterion from the data set. So otherwise, if you are going to type it, it is not going to work. So better copy that and paste them over here. Then let's take the if function, let's take the sum if, and let's figure out what is the lip gloss sale that is being made. So the range, this time it's going to be the product. It's going to be the product. So the criterion, what is that? The criterion must be lip gloss. You may refer that. Then the sum range is going to be the, it's this time also the units. You've been requested to identify the units. So once you type the units, it comes easily. So you may get that. So how many units of lip gloss were sold during the whole period? The 16,333 units of lip gloss was sold during the period. So that's how you take it, right? Then in the next question, it asks us, how much revenue did lip gloss sales bring in? How much revenue did lip gloss sales bring in? So again, so it is lip gloss. So you may copy that information, but this time they ask us to produce the dollar amount. So type equal sum if. So මේ වෙලාවේ අහන්නේ sales revenue එක lip gloss වල අපිට වෙනවා dollar value එකක් ගන්න. එතකොට range එක වෙන්නේ මේ criterion එක තියෙන එක. ඒකට ඒ criterion එක තමයි තියෙන්නේ අපිට හඳුනා ගන්න පුළුවන් product කියන range එකේ තමයි තිබුණේ. product එකේ. ඊට පස්සේ criterion එක lip gloss වෙනවා. sum range එක වෙන්නේ මේ පාර මොකක්ද? මේ පාර වෙනවා එක රුපියල් dollar amount එක නිසා එක තියෙන dollars වල. Say okay. So that is the lip gloss sales. So it is pretty easy. Then it asks, what is the total dollar amount of sales made by Jen? What is the total sales amount of total dollar amount of sales made by Jen? ඇත්තටම අපි මුලිනුත් මේක ගණනය කරා මතක නම් sales Jen විසින් කරපු එක 29050යි. නමුත් මෙතනත් අහන නිසා එක ක්‍රයිටීරියා එකකට දාලා අපි ඒක වර්ක් අවුට් කරමු. ඒකේ පොඩි වැදගත්කමක් තියෙනවා. ඊළඟ ප්‍රශ්නෙට ගියාම ඒක අපිට අවබෝධ වෙයි. අපි just මේ Jen කියන එක ගමු. ක්‍රයිටීරියන් එක. ඒකට කොපි කරලා ගන්න එක තමයි හොඳම දේ. මොකද අපි ටයිප් කරන්න ගියොත් මෙතන රෙකෝඩ්ස් වල ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙලා සමහර වෙලාවට ආන්සර් එක නොඑන්නත් පුළුවන්. So අපි Jen කියලා ගත්තා. අපි ඊට පස්සේ ගන්නවා මොකක්ද? sum if එක. So we may take the sum if, then the range. Jen කොහෙද ඉන්නේ? Jen ඉන්නේ name කියන column එකේ. ඊට පස්සේ criterion එක තමයි Jen. sum range එක ඒක අපිට අඳුර ගන්න පුළුවන් dollars වල. ඒකට අපිට පේනවා same answer එක ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා 29050යි. 29050ක් කියලා ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. right. ඊට පස්සේ අපි ඊළඟ question එකට ගියොත් what is the total amount of sales were not made by Jen? එතකොට මේ කරපු sales වලින් Jen ඇරෙන්න අනිත් අය කරපු sales කීයක්ද කියන එක තමයි අහන්නේ. what is the total dollar amount of sales were not made by Jen. Jen විසින් නොකරපු sales. ඒ කියන්නේ අනිත් අය විසින් කරපු. එතකොට අපි මේක මැනුවලි ගත්තොත් ආන්සර් එක වෙන්න ඕනේ මොකක්ද? මම මුලින්ම මතක නම් total sales workout කරගත්තා. එතකොට total sales තිබ්බා 240,837. එතකොට ඒකෙන් Jen කරපු sales තියෙනවා 29050. එහෙනම් මේ 2,40,837න් 29050ක් අයින් කරොත් ඒ ඉතුරු වෙන ප්‍රමාණය ඒ කියන්නේ 2,11,000 ගාණක් ඒ amount එක තමයි Jen විසින් නොකරපු sales. ඒක තමයි අපේ answer එක වෙන්න ඕනේ. අපි බලමු ඒක කොහොමද ගන්නෙ. එතකොට අපිට පුළුවන් පළවෙනි එකේ ඔන්න එක not Jen කියලා දැන් මම Jen කියලා සටහන් කරගන්නම්. not Jen කියලා අපි සටහන් කරගමු. එතකොට බැලුවොත් අපිට ගන්න වෙනවා sum if function එක. ඊට පස්සේ range එක. Jen නොවන අනිත් කට්ටිය ඉන්නේ ඇත්තටම name range එකේමයි. එහෙනම් name කියලා දෙන්න වෙයි. එතකොට criteria එක තමයි Jen නොවන අය. එතකොට කොහොමද මේ වගේ criteria එකක් දෙන්නේ? manually hard code කරන එක හිතුවොත් අපි දැන් දානවා not කියන sign එක. එතකොට අපි less than සහ greater than sign එක එකවර type කරලා එකවර කියන්නේ අපි පළවෙනියටම less than sign එක ගත්තා. ඊට පස්සේ greater than sign එක ගත්තා. ඊට පස්සේ අපිට පුළුවන් Jen කියලා type කරන්න. Jen කියලා type කරන්න. ඊට පස්සේ අපි ඊළඟ column එකට ගත්තොත් එතන අපිට පේනවා ඒක double quotes function එකේම දා ගන්නවා. ඊට පස්සේ dollar amount එක තමයි sales තියෙන්නේ. අපි dollars කියලා type කරනවා. ඔන්න එතකොට අපිට answer එක එනවා 2,11,786ක්. එතකොට 2,40,000න් 29000ක් ගියාපුවාම 2,11,786ක් තමයි එන්නේ. එතකොට කෙනෙක්ට හිතෙන්න පුළුවන් ඇයි අපි hard code කරන්නේ අපිට බැරිද hard code කරන්නේ නැතුව මේක කරන්න. ඔව් එහෙමත් පුළුවන්. එතකොට අපිට වෙනවා Jen කියන එක type කරගන්න. එතකොට අපිට පුළුවන් equal sign එක දාලා sum if function එක අරගෙන range එක name එක criterion එක මේ පාර අපි යන්නේ මොකක්ද references දීලා කරන්න. එහෙනම් double quotes open කරා not equal sign එක ගත්තා double quotes වැහුවා. space එකක් තිබ්බා and sign එක ගත්තා space එකක් තිබ්බා reference එක දුන්නා. sum range එක මොකක්ද? dollars තමයි sum range එක වෙන්නේ. right. Same answer has taken. So whatever that is you are comfortable, you may go ahead with that. මේ විදිහට තමයි එහෙනම් අපි activity 8 එක සම්පූර්ණ කරන්නේ. එතකොට මේක ගොඩක් වැදගත් වෙනවා. පුතාලා මේක ආපහු සැරයක් තනියම කරලා බලන්න. කරලා බලලා තමන්ගේ answers මේ තියෙන answers එක check කරලා බලන්න ඕනේ. right? okay. දැන් අපි යමු activity 11ට. මම activity 11ත් මෙතන copy කරගෙන තියෙන්නේ දැන්ටමත්. එතකොට අපි බලමු මොකක්ද question එක කියලා. The total of lip gloss sales done by Bestie. Bestie විසින් කරපු lip gloss sales. එතකොට condition දෙකක් අපිට තියෙනවා පේනවා. එකක් මේ sales කරන්න ඕනේ Bestie. අනිත් එක මේක වෙන්න ඕනේ lip gloss. එහෙනම් මේක තමයි conditions දෙක. right. දැන් අපි work out කරමු sales amount එක. මම ඒක ඩොලර් වැලියු එකක්. එතකොට මේ වගේ වෙලාවක condition දෙකක් එක total එකක් ගන්න කරනවා නම් මොකක්ද function එක අපි ඉගෙන ගත්ත විදිහට sum ifs. එහෙනම් අපි sum ifs ගත්තා. මුලින්ම අහනවා මොකක්ද sum range එක. කොහෙන්ද අපි total එක ගන්නෙ? ඒක තමයි dollars. අපි ඒක කියනවා dollars වලින් ගන්න කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ අහනවා criteria range 1 එක. අපි first criteria එක විදිහට salesperson ගත්තොත් එහෙනම් name තමයි criteria range එක. එතකොට criteria එක වෙනවා bestie. ඊට පස්සේ criteria range 2 එක අපි දන්නවා මෙතන criterias දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට අපිට දෙවෙනි criteria range එක මොකක්ද කියලා අහනවා. එතකොට මොකක්ද criteria 2 එක? ඒක තමයි product එක. criteria 2 එක ඒක lip gloss. products වලින් lip gloss තෝරගන්න. එතකොට අපිට පේනවා 5683යි 791. right. එතකොට මේ තමයි bestie විසින් කරපු lip gloss sale එක. So that is the sales made by lip gloss. So sales made by bestie. The lip gloss sales made by bestie. So that's how we get. Then the question asks, among the transaction involving at least 50 units, the total sales of eyeliners. එතකොට amount එක at least 50 වෙන්නත් ඕනේ. එක වරකට කරන transaction එකේ at least 50 units තියෙන්නත් ඕනේ. product එක eyeliner වෙන්නත් ඕනේ. එතකොට අපි එකත් copy කරලා ගමු. එතකොට ආයෙත් පේනවා අපිට conditions දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එතකොට මෙතන අපිට මොකක්ද කරන්න පුළුවන්? අපිට පුළුවන් ආපහු sum x වලින් තමයි මේකත් work out කරන්න වෙන්නේ. එතකොට sum x අරගෙන sum range එක දෙන්න කියලා කියනවා. මොකක්ද sum range එක? total sales තමයි අහන්නේ. එහෙනම් අපි දන්නවා ඒක dollars තමයි sum range එක. එතකොට criteria range 1 පළවෙනි criteria එක විදිහට මම ගන්නම් product එක. product එක ගන්නම් මම. product එක අපිට පේනවා eyeliners තමයි product එක. Then the criteria range 2 ඒක තමයි units. units 50කට වඩා වැඩි වෙන්න. එහෙනම් units. එතකොට මෙතනදිත් අපිට ඕන නම් hard code කරන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි අර ඉගෙන ගත්ත විදිහට අපිට මේක reference එකක් විදිහට දෙන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට මම මෙතන එක දැනට reference එකක් විදිහට දෙන්නම්. එතකොට equal මුලින්ම අපි double quotes open කරගන්නවා. ඊට පස්සේ greater than or equal මේක වැඩි හෝ සමාන වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඊට පස්සේ මේක අපි double quotes වහනවා. space එකක් තියෙනවා. ampersand sign එක ගන්නවා. space එකක් තියෙනවා. 50ට refer කරනවා. ඔන්න අපිට පේනවා එතකොට 41130ක් තමයි එන්නේ. ඒතර මේක confirm කරගන්න අවශ්‍ය නම් අපිට තව පාරක් work out කරලා බලමු. hard code කරලා 50 කියන එක. sorry sum ifs තමයි අවශ්‍ය වෙන function එක. දන්නවා sum ifs. ඊපස්සේ අපිට පේනවා sum range එක දෙන්න ඕනේ. අපි කිව්වා it's going to be the dollars. So total sales. Criteria range 1 it's a product. The criteria 1 is going to be the eyeliner. The criteria range 2 is going to be the units. But the units has to be greater than or equal 50. So I might hard code that. You can see that the same answer was derived. Right? So මේ තමයි අපි sum ifs වලින් question එකක් work out කරන විදිහ. එතකොට criteria එකකට වඩා වැඩි අවස්ථාවක අපි දන්නවා අපි ගන්න ඕනේ sum ifs කියන එක. Then let's move on to the activity 12. In the activity 12, it asks us what is the average quantity of lip gloss in each sales made by bestie. Conditions දෙකක් තියෙනවා. What is that? The lip gloss made by bestie. So therefore you have to take these two criterion. Lip gloss is one, the other one is bestie. So you may take that bestie. Right. Then what you need to know, is it the total or is it something other than that? The question asks you to compute the average quantity. Average quantity in units, right? So this time you need to have the average quantity in units. So therefore, what must be the formula? It should be the average ifs. It should be the average ifs. You may get the average ifs. Then it asks what is the average range? From where you want to get the average? The question asks us to take the average in units. So therefore, it is units column. Then the criteria range 1. So let me take the criteria as product first. This product. So what is the product? It should be lip gloss. Criteria range 2. It is the salesperson. So therefore it is the name. So the criteria 2, it's bestie. So that's it. You may work that out. You can keep it to 2 decimal places. So since it's not nice to have several, so it is 34.34. Actually in units we don't have even the fractions, so therefore just keep it in the rounded amount. It must be 34, right? So that's how we get. Then the next question, it's about among transactions involving at least 40 units, the average of total sales made by Ashley. Again, two conditions. What is that? The salesperson should be Ashley. So I may copy it and take that. And also the units has to be at least 40. So it should be greater than or equal 40. So we may work that out. So you want to compute the totals, average total sales. So therefore it's a average made by Ashley and amount the units at least 40, right? So you get average it's you would get that. Then we may take the average range. This time you have to take the average total sales, so therefore it is in the dollars. Criteria range 1, let's say it is the salesperson, it's in the name column, so it is Ashley. Criteria range 2, it must be the units. Unit should be, if you are going to use a reference, should be double quotes were taken, greater than or equal, close that, space, ampersand, space, the criterion. So you may get 208 point. So let me keep it for 2 decimal places, 208.48. That is going to be the average sales of Ashley in transaction involving at least 40 units. So that is how we get that. Right, in the activities 8, 11 and 12, that was the questions what was involved, and we have finished discussing that. And then let me go back to the question what we couldn't work that out. So that was the total dollar volume sold in or after 2005. So let's try that again. So what's wrong with that? So it is the total dollars volume sold in or after 2005, right? So it is going to be the sum if. So let's take the sum if. So the range has to be given. So what must be the range? In where you can find the date. So I believe that is where we might have gone wrong. Earlier I used to give range as the units, but that is not the case. This is in fact where you can identify the date. Where you can identify the date. It is in the date column, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it's date. So you type it date. Then the criterion. Let me first hard code that, then thereafter I will show the reference method, right? Criterion is, it should be greater than or equal 1st of January 2000. Sorry, here actually if you look at the data set, you can see that the month comes first, the date comes next, and the year comes finally. Okay, so therefore the month is January, the day is January 1st, and it is 2005. So here it does not make difference, but if the question had said that it is 30th June 2005, so you might have to take the date first, it is 30th, then thereafter, sorry, you have to take the month first according to the data set, it is 6th 30th 2005, right? That is also important, but here it does not make difference because the month is first, the day is first, so it is okay. Then the sum range, what is the sum range? It's going to be the units. So you want to identify the units. So this is it, 51,792. So even if I do the same using the reference method, it's going to be sum if. අපි reference method එකට මේක කරොත් range එක. range එක කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම date එක තියෙන range එක. date එක කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? 1st of January 2015 5 කියන එක හොයාගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ date එකේ. date range එකේ. date column එකේ. එතකොට අපි ඔන්න ඒක අපි දුන්නා. ඊට පස්සේ criterion එක. criterion එක තමයි it should be greater than or equal 2005 ජනවාරි 1 වෙනිදා පටන් ගන්න කාල සීමාවේ සහ එතනින් එහාට ගියපු කාල සීමාවේ කරපු total sales තමයි මෙතන අපි බලන්නේ in terms of units. Then we have to close it, space, ampersand, space, make the reference, and the sum range is going to be units. So you have come across the same answer. So I have taught you both the methods, and this is how we work out the Excel questions, that is especially the sum if, sum ifs, and average ifs, right? In addition to this, let me show you one question, right? Let's say for an example, in the question, this is to use a data range, just to show, make you familiar with the data range. So therefore, let me take it as a new question. Let's say that you want to identify sales revenue during the period, let's say period starting from it will hurt, yeah. Starting from say 1st of January, sorry, 30th June 2004 to 30th June 2005, let's say. So you want to figure out something like this. You want to know the sales revenue during the period starting from 30th June 2004 to 30th June 2005. So what if you have a question of this nature? तर අපි හිතුවත් question එකක් දීලා තියෙනවා කියලා පුතාලට 2004 6:30 ඉඳලා 2005 6:30 දක්වා කාල සීමාව තුල කරපු sales හොයන්න. එතකොට මෙතන අවශ්‍ය වෙන dates දෙකක් තියෙනවා. එකක් 30යි 6යි 2004. අපි දන්නවා මුලින්ම ගන්න ඕනේ data set එක නනුව මාසෙ මුලින් ගන්න ඕනේ, right? So that is important. එමුනම් මෙතන අපි ඒක වෙන්න ඕනේ 6යි 30යි 2004 සහ 6යි 30යි 2005. question එකේ මේ විදිහට අහන්න පුළුවන්. නමුත් අපි careful වෙන්න ඕනේ data ටික සටහන් කර ගන්නකොට. මොකද ඒක සෑම වෙලාවකම මේ තියෙන data set එකේ තියෙන format එකට තියෙන්න ඕනේ, right? එහෙනම් මෙතන conditions ඇත්තටම අපිට වෙනවා දෙකක් තියෙන්නේ නේ. 2004 6:30 2005 6:30. ඒතර ඒ වගේ වෙලාවක මොකක්ද support කරන්නේ අපිට sum ifs කියන function එක. sum ifs කියන function. sum ifs function එක අරගෙන sum range එක. අපිට මොනවද ඕනේ? total sales revenue. එහෙමනම් dollar කියන එකේ තමයි sales revenue තියෙන්නේ. dollars. criteria range 1. මුලින්ම date එක. මොකක්ද date එක? ඒක වැඩි හෝ සමාන වෙන්න ඕනේ 6යි 30යි 2004ට. So therefore greater than or equal, close the bracket, space, ampersand, space, reference. Then the second criterion, it should be also the date. දෙවෙනි එකත් date එකනේ. මොකද තව date එකක් තමයි දීලා තියෙන්නේ. එහෙනම් ඒක මොකක්ද වෙන්න ඕනේ? It should be less than or equal 2005 6:30ට වඩා අඩු වෙන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම නැත්නම් 2630. අඩු හෝ සමාන. close space ampersand space this. Say okay. Right. Here it comes the sales revenue for the period during the period starting from 30th June 2004 to 30th June 2005. So that is it. If I'm to just add another criteria for this, let's say that during this particular period, I want to identify the sales made by, let's say, Jen. I do not know whether the Jen had made a sale during this period. Let's just say, right, the sales made by Jen, let me copy that, during the period of this. Right. So if the question was as such, the question එකේ කියනවා Jen විසින් කරපු sales අඳුන ගන්න කියලා. Jen විසින් කරපු sales අඳුර ගන්නලු period එක වෙනවලු 6:30:2004 පස්සේ 6:30:2005 මේ කියන කාල සීමාව. එතකොට අපිට වෙනවා conditions කීයක් තියෙනවද? 3ක් තියෙන අවස්ථාවක්. right. අපි බලමු conditions 3ක් තියෙනකොට කොහොමද මේක accommodate කරන්නේ? අපි ගන්නවා some ifs. some ifs ගත්තා. right. ඊට පස්සේ අපි කතා කරනවා some range එක. dollars එකකින් තමයි sales ගන්න පුළුවන්. criteria range 1 එක තමයි එකක්. ඒ අදාළ පුද්ගලයා වෙන්න ඕනේ. එහෙමනම් අපි කියනවා name එකේ තමයි salesperson ඉන්නේ. So that's going to be Jen. Then what about the criteria range 2? It's going to be the date. What is the date? It is greater than or equal space ampersand space the reference. So you have to go down. You can see that here the scroll bar is there. You can go down, then you are moving to the criteria 3. What is the criteria 3? Again, date. This time it should be less than or equal space ampersand space. It's going to be the date. So we can see during this particular period, the Jen had made 7,989.37 worth of sales. So that is the sales made by Jen. Right? Then you can see we can accommodate any number of conditions. So if you are confident, if you are pretty much aware of the sum ifs, you can accommodate any of the conditions. No problem. Even it can be 10, even it can be 20. No problem. All what you have to do is systematically input that information into the formula. So the formula in no time, the formula will compute the desired answer. Right. Just to add another criteria for this, let me take the same question. Let's say that the sales made by Jen during this period, let's say that I want to know the mascara sale. It's a product, especially the girls, the ladies will know this, right? So the boys, we are not that much of aware of this, but the ladies will know this pretty well. Let's say that we want to figure out the mascara sales made by Jen during this particular period. So how many conditions are there? We have all the 3 conditions what we had discussed earlier is also there. Apart from one new conditions, what is that? It is the product mascara. So let me copy it. Yeah, it's mascara, right? Okay, fine. Now let's try to figure out again some ifs. You may take that sum range. It's going to be the dollars. Criteria range 1. Let's say the product first. There is no order, right? But the necessary condition is you may input all the things. It's mascara. Yes, the mascara had been sold. Then the second criteria, it's going to be the person, right? So that is the name range. It's Jen. Let's see whether Jen had sold. Yes, Jen had sold that. Then the third criteria, you can scroll down. Then the criteria 3, it is the date. Then you may come down. So it is going to be greater than or equal, double quotes clause, space, ampersand, space, the reference. Okay. Then the next criterion, again it is date. So it's going to be less than or equal, clause, ampersand, and the date. Yes. During that particular period, we can see that the Jen had made 2,166.71 worth of sales had been made by Jen. So likewise, you can see once you get familiar with this formula, you can do lots of things. You can do marvelous things using these formulas, right? So you can work with any the large scale databases. Even if you have 10,000s of 100,000s of record, you may have no worry. You may be able to work in those uh, data files. So it is pretty easy. All what you have to master is these functions. So that is about our discussion on uh, the decision logics. So we have managed to discuss activity 8, 11 and 12. Also I had worked out some additional questions as well. So I believe that you would made yourself familiar with this, and make sure that you are going to learn these aspects uh, during the next couple of days. So most probably so I will upload your individual assignment, so it may be on Wednesday or Thursday. I will upload your individual assignment. So in that, the Excel functions is going to be a major part of that. The if functions is going to be a major part of that. So therefore, you may study these aspects and you may work out your assignment, right? So the further details on the assignment would be provided later. So for the moment, you may study this. And yes, if you have any question, so make sure that you can email me on the very first day. I have share my email address. So just to type, just to give that again, it is Roshan Hirat at skp.ac.lk, right? So you can email me on this email address. Then the questions what you have, yes, you can get them sorted out, and your feedback is pretty much important. Then having said that, for the day, so let's stop our discussion. So thank you very much.